Are we live? Is this thing on? Is anyone there? Well, hey, everybody. Jason Stum here from Dealer Inspire, getting ready to fire up today's webinar where we're going to go online to the sale. Just going to give everybody like a minute, just 1 minute, I swear, to kind of get in so they don't miss anything. Voice music for a second. Got to get in the mood. Got to get the right mindset. So we can go online to the sale. I got to give a quick shout out real quick. This isn't part of the webinar, but I got to give a quick shout out to Kyle McKenna, IT specialist at DI, for saving my butt. 2 days ago, not this very computer, but the computer that I was using blew up, totally died. And my man overnighted me a replacement machine. It got here in time for the webinar. So if anything goes like catastrophically wrong with the webinar today, it's not because of my computer, because that's brand new. It'd be for a completely different reason. So thank you, Kyle. Appreciate the help, brother. Save me. All right. It's 1 minute past, which is close enough for me. So hi. Welcome. My name is Jason Stum. I'm the Director of Strategy here at Dealer Inspire. And I'm really excited you guys are joining us for today's webinar. Now, while I see we have a lot of clients and partners on the webinar today, I'm pretty sure that I'm seeing just a couple of you who might be joining us for the very first time. So in case you didn't know, we are Dealer Inspire, and I'm just one of 600 passionate employees on a mission to future-proof dealerships with one connected platform that sells more vehicles more efficiently. And today we're here to show you how you can take your entire digital platform and turn it into a plutonium-powered deal closing machine. Now, one little piece of housekeeping before we continue. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to ask them right over here in the chat, and we will do our best to get the A's to your Q's as we go along. And now, look, I know this might sound a little crazy, but giving customers the opportunity to shop for and buy a vehicle from your dealership's website without them spending 3 or 4 hours in your dealership, this isn't some far-fetched idea that we ripped out of an 80s flick. We're talking about creating a modern retailing experience, and this is actually something you can do today. And the best part is you don't need a shiny new flux capacitor to make the switch. You probably already have everything you need on your website. You just need to understand how you can take your online process beyond simple lead gen and turn it into an honest to goodness sales machine. Now, let me be clear here, because this is heavy, because what we're laying out for you today, it isn't simply do digital retailing. It's not what we're talking about. While a digital retailing tool is part of the modern retailing experience, it alone, that's not a silver bullet. And I think we can agree that as an industry, we've been on this path to adopting a modern retail experience for a while now. It's just been moving kind of slow. I mean, why shouldn't buying a car be just as easy and convenient as buying any other thing online anywhere else? But it was really COVID-19 that accelerated consumer behavior, and it has forced you as car dealers to kind of flip your approach to digital marketing from lead gen to becoming more transactional. Now, look, even before COVID turned our lives upside down, we'd already been tracking the slow death of the lead form for the past couple of years. That's a whole other webinar. But the short version is consumers are getting tired of giving up their personal information on your website in exchange for this vague promise that someone's going to get back to them later. I keep doing air quotes for some reason. Later. Even with a modern retailing experience, you're still going to get leads. But it's how you handle those leads that's going to matter most, because that submit and wait approach to car shopping just doesn't align with what people expect from any business today. I mean, look at this, for crying out loud. Thanks to technology, we live in an instant gratification society. We can get pretty much whatever we want, whenever we want, wherever we are. Groceries, movies, White Castle. Actually, should be here any minute now. Be on the lookout for that. And so no matter what it is, we can get it, and we can get it now, right from our phone. And because of that, now has become the consumer expectation. Then we get to March of this year, and yeah, not so great, right? The pandemic, it's added this whole other layer of stress to our lives, especially if you have kids, 4 of them, all under the age of 9. They're not going to school this fall. What's they saying? Oh, yeah, stress. There's a lot of stress, and I don't know about you guys, but life is pretty stressful right now. And so really what it comes down to is we're going to get pretty deep today into how you can create this modern, easy retailing experience using your digital platform. But the TLDR of it is, with everything that's going on in the world today, if you can just make it easy, you'll probably be surprised by the business outcome. And really to back that up, this idea that people just want easy, we can see this when we look at the data from car shoppers who recently purchased a vehicle using Online Shopper. The two things that jump out to me are once people engaged with Online Shopper, almost 2/3 closed in 10 days or less. And 42% closed in 3 days or less. 3 days. That's from starting to use the tool to being marked DMS sold in just 3 days. And on top of that, the average front end gross on those deals was almost $1,700. And that doesn't even include the back end. So keep that in mind as we go. But remember, this, again, it's not digital retailing. It's about creating a modern retailing experience, which is going to encompass so much more. And in order to show you how you can create this experience at the dealership, I'm going to need a little help from my friends. So let's bring in the smart kids, everybody. They've been in this biz for a long, long time, and they know a thing or three about this stuff. So without any further ado, let's welcome Darren Haygood, CRO at Dealer Inspire, and Jessica Ruth, one of our fantastic product owners. Darren, Jessica, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Jason. Happy to be here. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. Thanks for spending a few minutes in here and going through this with us.
Words, Jessica. You got any?
I'm so excited. Can't wait to start.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wanted to make sure I could hear you and that we didn't have any technical difficulties. Okay. So thank you both for taking the time out of your super duper busy days to join us here. So let's just jump right into it. So Darren, before we get to the new stuff, I want to talk to you about the old way, and not because you're old. Okay. But let's talk about the old way since you were there.
You're already starting? We've barely gotten going, and we're like, I'm the token old guy in this?
No,
okay.
No. I told you this wasn't about being old. But
you are.
Thank you.
There we go. All right, enough. Okay. Let's be nice, children.
Okay, great.
So I don't know about you. When I was back at the dealership, this is what a website used to look like, right? It would have a VDP would have like 14 or 15 CTAs on them. You'd have all kinds of disconnected widgets and pop-ups. You know, kind of this catch and release mentality to lead gen. And then you had the manager in the back just yelling at everybody to just get them in. Pretty much how it was back when you were in the dealership, right?
Yeah, I think this is actually a screenshot of my old websites that I used to have when I was running a dealership. Like, we couldn't possibly have, I need more pop-ups and more coupon lead grabs. And regardless of how the form came in, Jason, I remember running training meetings where I would say, don't answer any of their questions, just get them in, right? Like, I don't care what question that they're asking you or what the lead says or how much information is there. Please do all you can not to answer any of their questions and actually just get in on the appointment. Same thing applied as when we were transitioning these leads into phone calls. That was the ingrained strategy that we had, right? It's not about trying to engage and treat them like a real customer. They're just a lead, and we want to turn that lead into an appointment that shows up at the store.
Exactly. And you know what I call that? Well, I call that the worst way to fish. You put all your money and effort into your marketing, and it works. You generate a lead. So a big high five, right? But then you have to put just as much time and effort into chasing after that lead to turn it into a sale. So Matt, worst analogy ever. You ready for this, guys? It'd be like fishing. And you bait up a hook, cast it out there, and you catch yourself a fish. So that's your marketing, only to throw it back into the water, and you call your buddy over, which is like your BDC or your internet salesperson. Like, oh my God, I just caught the most amazing fish. You should go try to catch it too. That makes zero sense. Why are you trying to catch the same fish twice? Why not catch the fish the first time and eat it? Or not eat it, but sell a card to it. Okay, analogy's off the rails, but you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? And look, we're not casting aspersions here because, as you know, as we already alluded to, all three of us on this webinar today, we were there. We did this in some way, shape, or form. And so we've been around the retail side for a long time, some of us longer than others. Darren?
Yep.
Sorry, that's the last one, I promise. Okay, funsies aside, we got to get down to biz here. And so in order to turn your digital platform into a modern retailing machine that can help you close more deals, you need a roadmap to follow, which is really the meat of this presentation here. First up, you're going to have to define your digital road to the sale and align it with the tools you already have in place. Next, you need to make sure your website is optimized for a self-serve experience that aligns with today's consumer behavior that we touched on earlier. You'll also want to take a collaborative approach to digital retailing with your customers. You're definitely going to have to future-proof your follow-up beyond templated CRM emails. And lastly, once you've done those things, then you just want to start telling your customers and your market in general about how your dealership is the new best way to buy a car. Now, I think it's worth noting here that this talk of bringing your sales operations online isn't just a conversation that's happening inside the automotive retail space. It's really being talked about by mainstream, tech and marketing outlets too. Darren and Jessica, did you see this one from MarTech Today that was published about a week and a half ago about this transformation that's ongoing?
Yeah, no, Yeah, it's a great article. And, again, even beyond this article there, as I've had conversations with some of the colleagues and our great clients that are out there in the space, as you mentioned, Jason, like the impact of COVID, I think has awakened the consumer into being able to see what's possible with regards to shopping and actually transacting in automotive, and all the things that we do in every other day life with regards to e-commerce actually can translate into automotive, and we're not that different anymore. But it's not about, and I think really being clear here today, it is really not about trying to 100% of the time offer some 100% contactless or a virtual delivery, right? Where every time we're going to end up in a space where the brick and mortar of our industry doesn't matter. And it's all about delivering the car to the customer at their house or to their place of business. That's not the case at all. That's not what we're seeing. That's not the feedback that we're getting from our clients. It's still the vast majority are just doing the majority of their shopping and gathering of information online. And then when they come into the dealership, and this is the feedback we've gotten from some clients, they're no longer setting appointments for somebody to come in and then start the buying process, but instead setting an appointment for actually picking up their vehicle. So can you imagine this? I mean, you had goofy photos of me way back in the day, but like, remember back in the day, Jason, when we were in retail and on any given Saturday, like the most that any one sales consultant could sell at a dealership, and I mean, it would be if they're killing it, they could do like 2 to 3 cars in a day, right? And some of the feedback that we've gotten now is that we have clients that their sales professionals are selling 5 and 6 cars in a single day, not in a week, or in the case of when you were selling cars over the course of an entire month, Jason. I think like 6 car stum was like the moniker that you had. I'm not exactly sure, right? Or low gross Jason. I wasn't sure which one. I looked up a couple things online. I'm not exactly sure. But no, think about how this has changed for the consumer, but also changes the mindset of the professionals that work for us in this industry. And now they're not coming into work, working these long hours, hoping to actually get paid that day, but literally having the ability to go through 5 or 6 transactions in any given day because they're driving these really engaged opportunities, and they're doing the majority of this work online prior to the customer showing up.
So for those of you who had 12-12 in the pool for when Darren would make fun of Jason's sales career, you are the winner. Congratulations.
Right. Yeah.
And for clarity,
if you had it later on, it's going to keep happening. So you're good too there in the pool.
More chances to win. And for the record, it was no gross stump.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
No. Well, and thank you for being here, Jessica. I appreciate your support. Sorry. So, enough about this. And this is so much fun, but we do got to keep people on schedule here. So let's do this, Darren, my man. Can we break down step 1 of this modern retailing experience and show our audience how they can actually bring that traditional road to the sale process that all dealers have used for 100 years and bring that online to the digital age? Can you do that for everybody?
Yeah, sure, Jason. But wait, did you say roads?
Yes, roads.
Yeah, because where we're going, we don't need roads. Right. Okay. So campy jokes aside, right. So listen, if our goal here is to help sell more cars and not simply just drive more leads, and you need to start treating your website visitors just like they were walking in the dealership, like I was talking about a second ago, right? Now I get it, that might sound challenging, but trust me on this, we can all do it. And we're going to kind of walk through some examples of how we can do that, how we can treat that website lead or visitor, the live visitor, like they're sitting right there in front of you in your showroom, right? That all starts on step 1 here with the traditional, and I'm going to make analogies of like what it was like in the road to the sale to what you can do in transitioning online. So step 1 was that traditional meet and greet, right? And as we all know, that's the first step in the process. Pretty simple, right? This is the moment when your salesperson, customer meet for the first time on the lot or in the showroom. They engage in some sort of chat and small talk like Jason was doing here at the beginning, thanking our good buddy Kyle, right? What brought you in today? What are you trying to accomplish? Those types of things. And what you may not realize, however, is that the online version of the meet and greet begins not just on the website, but probably in your advertising and your digital marketing efforts, and then continues on your website through the related and connected content and tools that are going to help your shopper more effectively navigate through this journey. So then after we get through the meet and greet, next up is that needs analysis. Now this is super important because with the online version of the step, the customer isn't answering the salesperson's questions right there in front of them. Instead, they're on your website and they are in control of the experience. They're engaging with your inventory, they're selecting options and features they know that they need, And then they can even start answering their own, like, can I afford it type of questions with your digital retailing solution, or sorting features of where they can kind of shop by payment, right? So while all the steps of the sale are important, this one's super critical, because if a visitor can quickly and easily answer their own most important questions about pricing, options, availability, et cetera, then they aren't going to just bounce and continue their search elsewhere. They're going to keep down the road and engage with you, right? So next up, we got the walk-around. You might be wondering, sitting there at home watching here, like, how in the heck are we going to do this proper walk-around if the customer isn't even there in the showroom? And is this step even really needed anymore, right? Well, like I like to mention, if you've seen this, like, we've all been at home and we're working out of home offices, but Mercedes-Benz has this great commercial that's running where they've got the couple that's sitting there at home. He's on his iPad with his spouse right there on the couch, and the salesperson is on their phone, right, on the mobile device at the dealership, like doing a walk around on the car, kicking the tires. He gets in the interior of the vehicle, changes the ambient color, gets in the reclining seat and turns on the massager, right? There's this whole engagement that's going on. And I think, again, it's very reflective of the reality of how you use and leverage live video tools to drive an engaging conversation with our customers. We've got to, like, bring them in and show them that I'm not this person on the other end just answering chats or just having a two-dimensional conversation with you, but instead I can make it this engaging, dynamic conversation, just like we're doing here today by leveraging video. So that walk around and conducting a virtual walk around is super important. And I think whether a customer wants to still come in and drive the car or not at the store, that's not the point. You need to make this part of your walk around process in your stores. So then we get through to the test drive. So, and by the way, I feel like I'm back in sales training 101 at the dealership again. Like we're running the sales training meeting, right? It's kind of fun. But what is the goal of the walk around? I mean, A, it's meant to ensure that the salesperson has selected the right vehicle for the customer, meets their needs, their wants, desires, monthly budget, right? And then B, get the customer excited about driving it. But we're online now, so how in the world do we make this happen? Well, video test drives or reviews, especially if they are dealer produced and not third party, just generic assets, are great ways to utilize this stage. Whether you're sharing the vehicle, that video via the chat tool you're using in real time, or texting it to Jason later as a follow-up, you know, you can give that customer the feel that they're going through that test drive right there on their phone. The great part is, even if they were actually on a test drive with a customer, you can even go for a trial close in this stage by following up with a text answering questions like, hey, did you like what you saw? Were you able to get behind the wheel for yourself? How about I bring one over to where you're working or to your house? You can take it for a spin on your own. And, you know, we can see if that lives up to your expectations. A lot of our clients are thinking differently about the test drive and offering the ability to bring it to the customer's house or take it, you know, on a work break while they're at lunch. So again, think differently about how to do this, because I still think it is a very, very important step we can't just gloss over. And then we got, you know, step 5 here, the trade-in. You know, this is super important. It's a step that's in 75–80% of the transaction where the consumer actually has the current vehicle that they have to trade in. The trade-in step here is a little more fluid, can sometimes take place during the test drive in the traditional sense. That way, the used car manager of the store's got plenty of time to come up with ample reasons as to why the car is not worth what the consumer thinks it's worth, right? That fight that would ensue when I would come back from off of the test drive and like have that moment of trepidation with my used car manager who's had the keys from the customer outside walking around their trade-in, right? Going, okay, give me the bad news. What am I going to have to go tell them, right? Well, obviously, it's very, very different online because the consumer is in control. There's not like, and they should be able to get these answers in real time. So leveraging tools like what we do through the automated trade-in workflow in our conversations chat tool can just help the customer walk right through these steps, provide answers in real time, right? So they can get an idea of what their vehicle is worth and start to incorporate that into their deal as they continue to navigate. So then as we move forward and we get to the numbers presentation, again, with that digital road to sale, the steps can occur in a completely different order than in the in-store process, right? So the equivalent of the numbers presentation that normally follows the test drive during the in-store piece probably already happened before you were even sending your customer a walk-around video or offering to bring the car to their house or their place of business, right? We know that 75% of car shoppers, need to understand if they can afford the vehicle first prior to taking these steps. So, a digital retailing tool on your platform allows the customer to be in control, pull all the levers themselves so they can determine if they can truly afford the vehicle of their dreams and if it's going to fit into their budgets. And if they're feeling good about the finances, then they'll be ready to keep going on that online road to the sale. This next step here, I'm super passionate about. I was an F&I manager and F&I director for a long period of time, way back in the day when I had hair. I was, it was jumping ship, but I still had some, right? But there's a lot of, there's a lot of stress about the entire F&I piece of the process here for our shoppers. Everything from wondering if they're going to get approved, that anxious feeling about being presented with extended warranty and the service offerings when they're signing the, and doing that whole process. Sometimes, Jason, could take them away from the excitement of the actual buying process. Remember, like we'd get them closed, we'd come to an agreement on a deal. Now, you only had to do this like 6 times a month, so you probably didn't have nearly as much stress as I did. But like when you would like put the customer in the box, right? We still called it that, right?
Oh yeah.
And you're just hoping that goes well.
That
right?
sounds vaguely familiar. Yeah.
The whole thing doesn't go sideways or anything else. And like then they wander out like an hour and a half later and go, do we still have a deal? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm good. Let's go pick up the car. So the online portion is very different, and it is about education and leveraging the tools so that you can put the related additional warranty and service offerings in front of the customer. Make this content educational in nature so that you can incorporate it as a part of the process that you're taking the customer through when they're online. I can't stress enough that this is where your chat or conversations type of messaging really comes into play, because if they understand the value of these products and solutions, and our best clients are actually averaging a higher F&I penetration and adoption when they are, presenting these products and solutions in advance and during this process and not waiting until the end, right? We used to do the same thing when we would go on a test drive. You'd mention, say, hey, if you're thinking about leasing, when you go in and talk to the business manager to finalize your deal, it's probably really smart to ask about like the tire and wheel coverage or the additional wear and tear type of package, because most of my clients that lease a car, that's what they do. You got to do the same thing here online. It's just you're doing it in an online capacity and making it part of that workflow. Then last but not least here is the delivery piece of it. This step is pretty straightforward. Doesn't require a lot of imagination. Hopefully your digital retailing tool and the process in your stores provide you some sort of like digital signature capability so that you can at least get the ball rolling online. Again, it's not about bringing the car to them every single time. We don't all have to be Carvana, but realistically, there are going to be a few docs that most every customer still has to sign and get a wet signature. So allowing the customer to schedule a convenient at-home delivery experience or setting an appointment in store so that when they show up, in the example I was giving you earlier, it is an appointment for a delivery, not an appointment to start the process, right? And imagine how great and what the word of mouth is going to be like if the customer is saying, I just bought a car totally online, never had to visit the dealership, or even if I went in, they really made it fast and easy. And that's the kind of word of mouth praise that you can replicate, post online, and continue to benefit from as you move forward. Of course, then, we got to talk about what happens after the sale. That's just as important as what happens during. And not to get too spoilery here, Phil, if you go to the next slide. And I don't even know if spoilery is a word, but I'm using it anyway. I'm not really sure. But we've dedicated a portion of the webinar today to best practices around follow-up. And I'll just say that adopting a text-first mentality is going to help you to stay connected with your customers in the long term. Let me say that again. We want to stop sending these ridiculous, automated, glossy emails to our clients. And I know I'm getting spoilery here, Jason, but I always like to share with everybody internally, like, when is the last time that any of us on the call here today read a full email from anyone about anything? It's just not how we behave anymore. And if you get these emails that are like 2 or 3 paragraphs long and have got these glossy photos in it and links out to schedule your first service appointment, like all that, right? I just don't think that that's very effective. So if we think differently and we adopt a way to start incorporating the follow, which is super important, the engagement and the follow-up steps via text and via mobile, I think you're going to see a vastly different take rate and experience and feedback from your happy clients.
Yeah, it really, I hope all that makes sense what Darren's talking about there. So you're taking your road to the sale online, and it involves more than just your digital retailing tool. And that's why we call it a modern retailing experience, because it's made up of your marketing, your website, chat, content, your BDC, your sales team, and yes, that digital retailing tool, but they're all connected and working together to achieve your desired outcome. So that is the first step, and you need to map out what you have and how you can incorporate your tools and your team to define your version of the digital road to the sale. Now, if you're a DI client, your performance manager actually has a tool that they can use to provide you with a personalized playbook that will help you make that transition. And it's tailored specifically to your dealership and your tech stack. So send them an email, or even better, shoot them a text, and you guys can get that rolling in the books. I want to keep this conversation going here and really talk about more how we can just make websites self-serve and easier for customers to engage with. I mean, the reality is when a customer feels like they're in control of an experience, they're much more likely to actually sell themselves on whatever it is they're shopping for. And I think the best analogy for this, and it has nothing to do with fishing, I promise, is if you've shopped for a new phone recently on like your wireless carrier's website. Have you guys done this? Have you guys bought a phone recently, Darren, Jessica?
I've got 4 children, and 3 of which are teenagers. So yes. I'm constantly shopping for phones, it seems like. So I can't wait for this analogy. I'm going to learn something. This is cool.
Well, all I'm saying is that they've cracked the code. They have made this so darn easy. You just log into your website. It tells you right there, if you're on an installment contract, how many payments you have left. It tells you how much they'll give you for your phone if you trade it in. And then it will just, you just pick out the phone you want. And who cares that you're buying an $1,100 phone? An $1,100 phone. It's only $38 a month. And that's only $6 more a month than you were paying on the phone you got 2 years ago. So you just add to your cart and you check out. And that experience, it's so easy that, again, if you say it out loud, it's crazy, right? Oh, yeah, I just spent $1,100 on a phone. What? No, but they've cracked the code. So I think we can bring some of that ease of use, bring it to more dealership websites. And Darren, let's just talk about a couple of these things in terms of how people shop and how you can make it easy.
Yeah. So, obviously the majority, especially we're talking about the variable side of the business, one of the primary things customers are searching for is a car. And we have to break out of the mentality of like trim level and legacy ways to filter and search for things on a site. Customers, even the loyalists for the different brands, don't know the difference in the trim level between what's on an EX or an EXL or an LE or what, right? But they know, hey, I want all-wheel drive, I want leather seats, I need a 3rd row seat, and I want Apple CarPlay. So giving them the ability to not have to go through the minutia of 15 different trim levels to try to hunt and, using your fishing knowledge, but fishing for the right, car. Let's make it simple. Allow them to just plug in the features that they're looking for, and then even taking a step further, and the monthly payment that they're trying to stay within. That's going to, stay with me here, kids. It's all about making this easy and faster. And that's certainly a big component of doing that for our consumers. Sometimes another one here, something we strongly recommend is taking control of their chats. I talked about this in the example with the Mercedes-Benz thing, right? During their business hours, as the customer is helping themselves to your website, there's a chance that they might have a question or two that we can answer. And managed chat's a crucial piece of this in your overall strategy. And we still have a lot of clients that are like, hey, I just don't have the staff to do this. But I'm telling you, in the new ecosystem, having personalized one-to-one communication, leveraging video, right, is going to make that transition both mentally and actually tangibly to the store, that you start to create and treat a chat customer like they're live right there in front of you, right? The analogy I use here, Jason, all the time is that, if I was running a dealership and I had somebody trying to ask us questions and they were in the showroom, no one would just let them wander around aimlessly without somebody coming to answer their questions. And worse yet, if they were out on the lot, like sales managers would be like, hey, Stump, I know you're not doing anything. Go out there and talk to that person, right? Maybe he'll turn into deal number 7 for you this month. But like the immediacy of being able to get out there and like engage and like really give them all of your attention and focus, why don't we do that for somebody who's live in our digital showrooms? Doesn't make any sense. So, again, really trying to shift that mentality. And if you go to the next slide here, Phil, you can see that we have a kind of a perfect example of this. And so this is a real chat that happened recently. And it's a little fuzzy on the screen, but I'll kind of read it for you to set up the scenario. But the shopper found a vehicle on the dealer's website, and because it had just hit the inventory feed, the pics and the price for the car hadn't populated yet, so the customer used chat to ask some questions about the price. It was picked up by a managed chat agent. They did their job, collected the shopper's contact information, but that's all that they could do, and then they were trying to transfer it off. And the shopper said, I'm currently working with another dealership on the same car, so I'm just trying to see who can give me the best price. And then they disconnected. Right, and there wasn't somebody that picked that up live in the dealership to be able to carry that forward. So case in point, this would never happen. Like we wouldn't sit there and go, nope, sorry, we don't have anybody available to be able to give you an answer to your question. Good luck to you going to the store across the street. we would do all that we can to try to sell that valuable walk-in a car, and we would never let them leave. We've got to shift that same mentality here when it comes to like the chat opportunities that are sitting there live on your website, because they're live in your digital showroom. Next year, kind of as a tip and trick, is the digital retailing piece. And I know this is weird when, you know, we keep saying digital retailing is an essential part of creating that modern retailing experience, but the writing has been on the wall for a while now. COVID has really escalated this. But having a digital retailing tool that's so that you can facilitate modern retailing isn't an option anymore. It is required, you know, steps in order to help facilitate an easy shopping experience. It would stink if you've got the right car in your lot and the right price and your customer didn't find a way to use these tools to make the shopping experience transparent, easy, and intuitive, right? I know we talked about it before, but it said 75% of car shoppers say they won't take the next step in the shopping process if they can't determine if they can afford the vehicle they're interested in based on their personal financial needs and their preferences. Simple as that. So the next step isn't necessarily buying the car online. It could be calling the dealership. It could be requesting more info. It could even be showing up at the dealership unannounced, right? But all of these steps connected with your digital retailing tool so you can bring the online into the showroom, like the Apple Genius Bar, right? You walk in and you're using the same software, the same tools when you show into the store. This is what helps to, like, again, transition that it is one modern retailing experience, not an online digital retailing experience and the old school way to do it when we show up at the store.
Right. And so hopefully up to this point, you've learned a few things. A, Jason was really bad at selling cars. B, Darren's old. And 3, Jessica hasn't said that much, but we're about to fix that because we're going to have you on. But really the big takeaway so far is that simple digital retailing, that tool just isn't enough. Darren just talked all about it. We got to get it incorporated into the entire sales operation. Now, up until very recently, digital retailing, that tool, the standalone tool, has typically been just a consumer-driven experience, and it's been somewhat difficult for you at the dealership to actually collaborate with your shopper while they're actively engaged with that tool. But you can do that now, not futuristic stuff. This is now. And to tell you more about that, Jessica Ruth, thank you for laughing at all Darren's jokes and making fun of me. But you are one of our amazing and talented product owners. And can you show everybody how they can create a collaborative shopping experience on their website? Can you do that? I think
we're about to find she's not really on my side at all. This is all going to turn very quickly.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
I've just been collecting all of my comeback lines.
Writing them down.
I'm storing them up. Yeah. Well, thanks, Jason. And I thought that was really great. All of the points you're making. So going back to your point, Jason, about the old catch and approach to lead generation, a lead generated from your digital retailing tool that goes over to your CRM and then gets worked later, maybe it's an hour later, maybe it's even longer than that, isn't really any different than a get e-price or a check availability lead, right? So if you're handling the lead the same way as you're handling those digital retailing leads the same way as your other leads, you're really missing out on that collaborative experience you can start building. And going off of how shoppers or consumers are just shopping today, COVID or not. So we know the secret to the sale is building a relationship with your customers. So what we're saying is, why not start your relationship with your customer like right at the start? So you can really turn your digital retailing tool into a desking tool and work with your shoppers while they're on your website. Does that sound crazy?
Yes, it does. Can you really do that?
You can. Okay. So all the things you can do at the dealership can be accomplished online using the back end or dealer interface of your digital retailing tool to help you drive more sales. So for example, if you have a customer who you want to see if the car will fall into their budget, you can start, changing the down payment. Maybe you're going to adjust the selling price. And then you just push that to your customer's digital garage and show them how you just changed their monthly payment and got them way closer than they thought they were going to be. So how many times, Darren, because Jason can't sell, how many times were you close to a deal closing and all it was going to take was just bumping the trade by $500 or just tweaking something else? How often was that happening for you?
Well, I mean, all the like every deal that you would work, it is sometimes it's the tiniest thing, but it is giving that consumer the perceived win, right? And I know you're probably going to talk about this, but it also is really important to not assume and make assumptions as we're going through this that the lead or the opportunity that came in on a particular car is the only car that you should be like having a conversation around, right? That's another kind of, there's a misperception that exists in the space, but yeah, like it's all about the subtle nuances of personalizing that experience and giving the customer a win to make them feel like they're not just like some lead on the other end of it.
Yeah, and these are, for those of us paying attention at the beginning, these are all of the steps that we were taking, and now we're going to drill them into making them collaborative. So, so just like we were talking about earlier, and just like at your dealership, you can suggest your F&I products and aftermarket accessories, and then add them to that overall deal. Again, this is while you're desking the deal, and then you're going to take those same updates, the same suggestions with like the tire protection and the gap, and you're going to be able to push that to your shopper's digital garage, and then start getting feedback and going back and forth with your suggestions. So this alone, what we've just talked about, these 3 steps here, is just meeting the shopper where they're expecting you to be. So back to the Mercedes-Benz commercial. Can you pretend to be my kids in the back? I mean, that resonates with all of us. Or even, can you pretend to be my kids in the kitchen?
Right.
You know, that's how it is. So same thing with being able to update the finance or the lease terms. You know that this happens all the time. You have somebody who submits a lead as a finance, but you've got a better suggestion with a lease. So then you can go back and forth with that, and then still working with them collaboratively. Maybe you're texting back and forth. But guys, are you ready for this? When's the last time you bought the car that you intended to, you're first interested in? I've never done it in any of the vehicles I've purchased. I've always bought something else.
Not since I was a laydown with the very first car I bought and paid sticker.
Oh, come on. Let's be fair. Like, you've always just paid sticker. Come on. Let's you know. That's
you demanded it, in fact.
Sticker's quicker, man. I don't know what to tell you. You want to save time, pay sticker.
I pay sticker's thumb. There's like so many good ones that we can just keep doing here. No, but yeah, Jess, when you're talking about this, like, it's not about, like, I can resonate with this. It's not about switching to an entirely different car. It is often about, like, just trim level, because, you know, I know as a consumer, I wanted this feature, this feature, and this feature, and I may have picked out something online, but when I came into the store, the sales manager, the sales rep, or whatever suggests, hey, there's another one. It's a different color. It's got a couple different options, but because we at the dealership can actually make more money on it,
yeah,
or there's additional incentives or whatever, we switch. And that's what I was talking about earlier, that, like, they're still greater than, your metrics are probably better than mine, but greater than 60% of consumers are still buying a slightly different vehicle than the one they sent the lead in on.
Yeah.
So making an assumption that digital retailing and or modern retailing is all about that car, wrong way to think about it. Options to be able to switch the customer to a vehicle where you at the dealership can make more money on the sale, 100% how we should approach this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's happening in the store today. There's the dealerships, you guys are going to suggest alternative vehicles all the time. But why not start doing that in the earlier phases while they're still on your website and they're still doing they're building out that digital garage where they're saving vehicles and showing you which ones they're most interested in. So and actually it's about like 80% don't buy the vehicle that they set out to purchase.
Wow,
but with your digital retailing tool, you can be at the dealership, they can be at home doing their shopping, and you can start adding different vehicles to their digital garage. So you can start suggesting those other vehicles. Maybe they saved all new vehicles, or maybe they saved leases and you want to throw in a finance or a used car alternative suggestion. This happens all of the time. So why not be able to do it virtually? So, and then once you do land on a scenario that you and your customer are comfortable with and you guys are in agreement, then go ahead and send them the intent to purchase. And this will allow them to carry through with that virtual experience of do they want to take delivery at home or wherever, and they can upload driver's license, their insurance, do some documents, and again, meeting them where they're expecting you to meet them.
Yeah, and this is, this is something that I think is really cool because, again, now I'm just going to make fun of myself. I'd walk into my sales manager's office, say, "Hey, Mr. Smith here, he's good to go. He wants to buy this. We can do it for $350 a month." And my sales manager go, "Where's the commitment?" I'm like, "I just told you the commitment. He told me he wanted to do it for this." He's like, "No, where's it in writing?" I'm like, "Why aren't words good enough?
Did
Why
you
can't I
pinky
just
promise with him?
Yeah, Mickey swore. So
Okay.
I would go back out there sheepishly, write something down. If I could, would you sign this, take it back? And then he'd say, "Well, this is again the digital version of that step. It's that intent to purchase. All the numbers are lined up. They're committing to it, and now you can take that step moving forward." But let's be clear here. While this does make a lot of sense and is very cool that you can engage words, Jason, collaboratively. Let's not set improper expectations because you're not going to be able to get every single person every time in the moment, and you're gonna have to do some good old-fashioned follow-up to keep driving down that digital road to the sale. So, Jessica, what can we learn that will help? What can our dealers learn that will help future-proof their follow-up?
Well, so there's a lot of things that we're gonna talk about now, but let's start with one of these. So, how many of you, Darren and Jason excluded here, so how many of you in the audience are old enough to remember when you had to fight with your sibling when the phone rang? You had to scream phone and you had to go claim it because you knew it was going to be for you. Yeah.
It was never for me, but damn it, I tried.
It was never for you. Yeah. No, I was trying to find one of those. I had one of those clear phones. I mean, I hope everybody remembers this.
I remember those.
Like a clear phone. You could like see all the wires through it and everything. Do you remember that? Oh, those were so cool.
Only the cool kids had those.
Well, that's why. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you're not going to close every deal online in real time, just like you don't close all of them in the showroom. Darren did, Jason didn't. We're going to keep this going. We need to retrain our teams here to focus on reaching out to folks the way that they prefer to be reached. Like, how many times have you not answered a phone call when you don't know the number? Like, we all do that, right?
Every single time, yeah.
Yeah, but then like how many times do you not answer the phone? You're just looking at it and you know who it is. I do that all the time too, right? Like we all do that. So like if you think about 76% of phone calls will unanswered when it comes to an unidentified or an unfamiliar number. Like I don't even know if I believe that stat because I still decline all calls. So like, just text me. That's what my voicemail says. Just text me.
Yeah, no, listen, it's people that even the ones that know us, like I've alluded to this, like a 20-year-old daughter that's in college, and I'm the token old guy here. So I like to actually talk to my children on the phone, and I'll call, it'll go immediately to voicemail. And seconds later, I'll get a text that says, "Hey Dad, what do you want?
What do you need?" Yeah.
She doesn't want to talk to me. She wants to just text back and forth. And that's her preferred method of communication. So if my own daughter does not want to talk to me, I assure you, she does not want to talk to a car dealer. Right?
No.
And I know that's, I don't want to, give the impression that is skewed based on age or type of demographic, but it's just not accurate. So this metric that's here, this is how most of us are preferring to engage. And yet we have still an army of processes that are all rooted in phone call first, phone call first, second, and third. And it's just not how the customer wants to engage with us.
Well, so then you email, right?
No.
No. So, yeah. So you might be saying to yourself, like, well, I'm not going to make the phone calls. I'm just going to start emailing. But I mean, it can be effective if it's done right. And we've kind of touched on this already, and we'll get more into it in a little bit. But has anyone ever seen this tweet? Has it gone around? I gave a car dealer my email address, and now I have to fake my own death to get out of it. Like, this is so true, and it really speaks to what happens once a typical car dealer has a shopper's email address, and then they just throw them into the catch and chase process, and you stop the madness. It just doesn't work, right? So when it comes,
I like that, just to stop the madness.
I know that's also like an '80s thing, right? Like, yeah, okay. when it comes to following up with people who are still in your active pipeline, there's really no better method than texting. So 80% of people actually say that they'd rather text with a business, not their dad, a business, than talk with them on the phone. And we talked about this already. I think that that's even higher than it's higher the younger the crowd. And this is the crowd that's going to be buying cars soon, right? So it's really important that we actually, this is really important that we've actually seen the positive results of this. We worked with a major auto group to set up specific text follow-up for them and their subsources, and they saw their contact rates and lead quality skyrocket. It's a text, everybody's a text first, right? Yeah. Like I think everyone on here is preferring to text over anything else.
I'm actually texting right now. Jessica, real quick, because you shared something the other day that just totally blew my mind because my kids aren't as old as yours. Tell everyone what the next generation of car buyers who will be buying cars in just a couple of years from now, how they're doing arranging their phones, their smartphones.
So I too have 4 kids, and on their phones, I realized this a while ago, on all of their phones, they do not have the calling app in any, like I have it in my bottom drawer on my iPhone, and then but they hide it. And I think 2 of them have them in drawers that are called "Don't Use."
Great, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Text.
So
I think we've hammered that point home. Text.
Yes.
Yeah, texting is where it's at. And then for any of our Conversations users on here today, you already know this, but Conversations has inbound and outbound texting capabilities. So, we'll help you meet your customer right where they want to be met. Okay, so now hashtag reality check. You may not get a phone number from every person who engages with your website, or you might, but you might only have their email address. So, and that's fine. Just make sure you're creating a unique follow-up process or an automated workflow based off of their intent. So we don't want to send them follow-up emails that don't match where they left off with shopping. So if we go back to our modern retailing, if we have somebody who hasn't come in or they haven't taken that next step, don't send them an email that says, "Hey, I saw you're interested in this Malibu. Do you have any questions?" Well, they were on digital retailing. They just answered all of their questions. You got to send them one about where they left off and so try to re-engage with them because they left for some reason. Now we got to get them back there way more engaged.
Yeah, and that really is, I think, is like the biggest thing. Everything we're talking about here, we don't, it's not absolutes. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach, but just being cognizant of the best way to communicate with somebody to keep them moving forward down that digital road to the sale. And once you've done all that, really the last piece to this puzzle is incorporating that new experience into your current advertising and digital marketing campaigns. Now, this is something we could probably do another hour webinar just on this half of it, but I didn't want to leave you guys hanging without seeing where to go next. And maybe in a month or 2, we'll actually be able to put like this part 2 of Online to the Sale together, because every good movie needs a sequel, right? So really, let's just do a couple of these quick hitters here. You can do Google ad campaigns center around buying a car online type keywords that are being searched by people in your market. You can let them know through your ad copy and provide exactly what they're looking for through your modern retailing experience. And we're going to see here that SEO can also play a major part of this initiative once you have your modern retailing experience in place. So you can reach more of your local shoppers and influence search engines as well. So remember, people don't go from in-market to checking out on your website without a few steps in between, right? A lot of shoppers, especially in the COVID environment, they might need to get a new car, but they really aren't sure if you can do it online yet. Is that even possible? It sounds like a good idea, but I've never heard of that. So they might be searching on Google for things like, is buying a car online a good idea? Or can I test drive at home? Or do dealerships deliver? So these are higher funnel searches where people are just trying to dip their toes in here to see if this is even a possibility before they commit to it. And if you're regularly publishing that content that matches up with and answers those types of queries, you can start actually driving that higher traffic funnel to your website so you can get that sales pipeline stacked up from the top. You also want to make sure you're covering your Facebook and Instagram with organic and paid social posts, inviting local shoppers to try your new easy modern retailing experience. A very smart person once said, scrolling is the new channel surfing. 1000% agree with that. So you have to give your followers a reason to stop that thumb and engage with your brand. And now, listen, if you've been on any of our other webinars the past couple months, you know that Jason, not a fan of email blasts, not a fan of just blasting out an email to everyone in your database. I always prefer segmentation and targeting. I'm going to give everyone a free pass. This is the one time where you'll have my permission, not that you need it, but I'm giving it to you, to blast your entire database. Because once you have all these tools aligned, once you have your roadmap defined, you do want everyone you know to know about it. So email your previous sales customers, email your service customers, let them know that when they're ready for a new vehicle, you have the most convenient way to do it. And look, you might actually bring some people into market earlier than they planned, or at the very least, you're going to pick somebody's imagination. They're like, oh, okay, sure, easy, right? And so just to be, maybe spiteful or whatever, they come to your website and then actually they discover just how easy it is. Like, oh, well, I'm definitely doing that next time I do need a car. So feel free, this occasion only, blast them all. And then also incorporate your messaging into your lead follow-up. Now, it would be nice if every lead that came into your CRM was a result of your digital retailing tool or your chat, but you're still going to get third-party leads. You still have other CTAs on your website. So here it's crucial just to incorporate that messaging about your modern retailing experience, provide videos, provide links to how to use the platform most effectively, anything that will just help bring them in to get them into the tools that are going to lead to the best possible outcome for your dealership. And then lastly here, I just want to touch on video because this still is the best way to tell your story in 6, 15, or 30-second increments. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with me there. But look, media fragmentation, though, that is a real thing. And in order to reach the most in-market shoppers in your area, you really kind of have to be everywhere at once if you want to make the biggest impression. Now, check this out. So this is the tricky part, but stick with me here for a second. So a lot of dealers, maybe even yours, anytime you're doing traditional TV, cable, or any kind of digital video advertising, your message is always about the deal, right? Get this 2020 Chevy Malibu for like $199 with 0 down, find new roads. On one hand, I get that. I've been there. But on the other hand, that's really not the type of ads people are engaging with. Now, we got our hands on some data from clients using the Fuel in-market video platform to distribute their messaging to active in-market shoppers across multiple platforms and devices. And what we see is actually it's really kind of nutty here. So when we look at the top performing ads, the vast majority of the creative is actually centered around brand tailing or consumer experience, not offers. Brand tailing or consumer experience, not offers. And remember, with Fuel IMV, you're targeting ads specifically to people who are 100% in market to buy a car, but they're not necessarily engaging with an offer ad the way they are about an ad that makes them feel positive about your brand or makes them feel something that, that wants them to take the next step. And when I saw these numbers come across, I was like totally shocked. Darren and Jessica, I know you had a chance to review this. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I don't think it's surprising at all, Jason. And you see this even outside of automotive, but certainly within our industry, I just don't think that the offer ads resonate with the consumer anymore. I think, if I put my consumer hat on, I see ads like the $199 a month, the 0 done, like I know that that's not true, and that's not going to be applicable to my situation. And it's probably on some base Malibu that barely, if it's got roll-up windows or something. Still, who knows? I'm talking about really dating myself. I think every car has power windows at this point.
What's a roll-up window?
All right. But, like the job, as we've gone through this whole modern retailing, this is, again, we wouldn't do this out of order if the customer was right there in our showroom. So the job of video and of advertising, especially video advertising, is to drive an emotional response and to get the customer engaged and feeling passionate about that brand or that model that you're trying to advertise, so that when they click through and they're on your site, leveraging all the things we just talked about today, now they'll get to the step where they get to the tools where they can personalize their payments. And 75, 80% of them are going to do that. But if we start at the beginning with some sort of false premise that's this gimmicky ad with no money down, and then they click into it and they find out it's going to be $397 and requires $38.50 down, they're like, wait a minute, what's that nonsense that they advertise? So, right?
Right. And then you lose their trust and you're not, you need to grab the emotional response and then hitting their personal appeal to the message. I'm not personally appealed to a $199 offer because it feels like that was just for everybody and not for me specifically. So I have no connection there.
And you know what's really, I like how this all came together, because if we're looking at this ad right here, if we go all the way back, Darren, to when you started that like digital road to the sale, what was the first step? The meet and greet, which this is a part of. So you see it all connects, it all works together. It will bring you around full circle so that you can indeed have a modern retailing experience. Well, you know what, guys? I think we did it. We did it with 5 minutes to spare. It's almost like we planned it that way.
Oh my gosh.
So real quick, guys, let's just review. I hope you were taking screenshots or taking notes along the way. If you haven't taken any screenshots, at least screenshot this so you can have it in your back pockets. Step 1, define your digital road to the sale, bringing your in-store shopping experience online. Step 2, make your website self-serve, allow shoppers get all the A's to their Q's. Collaborative digital retailing is where it's at. Jessica did a great job of breaking it down, how you can virtually desk a deal with your customers in real time. Future-proof your follow-up, text first, we all know that. And make it your brand. Having the tools isn't enough. You got to tell everyone how to use your stuff and why you are the new best way to buy a car. And if you want to, what was I going to say? I held it together until the very end.
You did so good.
Don't know what to tell you.
You've got like 5 minutes to spare. You can go sell another car this month, Jason.
There we go. There we go.
Was that 7?
Thank you. I had it at 6, but if that's
take a breather, sit down and take a rest. We don't.
If you're already a Dealer Inspired client and you want to talk about any of this stuff, just reach out to your performance manager. If we've never talked before, our contact information is right here on the screen. Again, thanks everyone for making time out of your day to join us, and we'll see you again next month with another webinar. Darren, Jessica, you guys made me laugh so hard today. I appreciate you guys being here and sharing the knowledge. That was awesome.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks as always, Jason, Jessica. You're awesome. I hope everybody is safe, taking care of their loved ones, and again, thinking about their business differently. We can all do this. We have the tools to do this. We just have to think about how we apply them slightly differently to get the outcomes that we're looking for. So best of luck to you, and we're here to help any way we can.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. I'm just waiting for somebody to end the webinar.